I could go into some stuff that I talked about last week, if
Sure.
that's okay. Because
Yeah.
one of the things last week that I mentioned was, and just taking things to the mainland a little bit, where um, in the United States, like I was talking about in Jamaica, but definitely more so in the United States, there was a very strict line between African religious practice and Christianity, and a demonization of African religion. For example, it's long been said that we were in the United States, we were forbidden to have African drumming, and drumming is one of the aspects, a very sort of fundamental aspect of African, ritual and religious practice. And the story is that the people in power recognize the power of the drums, not only in terms of the ritual aspect of it, but in terms of communication and in terms of rebellion. And having seen how African religion played a part in slave rebellions in Saint Domingue, in Jamaica, and in some cases, certainly on other islands, but most notably in what is now Haiti and Jamaica, having seen African religion essentially be a predicate for slave rebellion, in the plantations and burning of crops and killing of masters and so forth. The people in power in the United States took note, and they recognized that link, and so they outlawed the drums very early on, because they realized that that was a part of the mentality of the Africans who were staging these rebellions and killing people and destroying the crops and all the financial sort of profit margins. And so the way music evolved in the United States was without the drums. Um, and so in some ways it's characteristically different than how religion and how people behaved in terms of the enslaved Africans in the other parts of the Caribbean and in South America. They didn't have drums, um, and um, and so in addition to that, you had that demonization. So the drums are outlawed, the religion is condemned, the rituals are squelched, and it's very clear that African practices are demonic. Now, there were slaves that would, there are stories about, folks going into the woods and having secret sort of religious rituals, but it doesn't seem to be a very long sort of a long tradition of that. That seems to kind of convert into Christianity at some point. And so on some level, you start to see African, enslaved Africans practicing religion on their own, but it's Christianity. And so they're sneaking off to practice, but it's Christianity, and or it's just to have a good time. Christopher Cameron wrote in his book, he has some accounts of some of the behaviors of people in plantations in the 1800s who were, doing things on Sunday and they weren't going to church. So there's some people who are practicing Christianity. There's some people who are not practicing Christianity at all. But it's very clear that they're not practicing African religions. They're not doing what folks were doing in Haiti or in other places in Jamaica. They're not, singing songs to Shango and stuff like that. They don't have the drums.